Chapter 5 just got its very first trailer, showing off the game and also hiding some interesting secrets. But that's not all, as we also got some screenshots of the chapter, including gameplay with everyone's favorite character, an official release window, and a ton of new info about what will be in the chapter. It's so much stuff, but let's just get right into it. Firstly, let's go over the newly revealed trailer. So the trailer starts off in some kind of mysterious hallway located in the labs that we entered at the end of chapter 4, looking abandoned and destroyed, with smoke filling the area and water dripping onto the floors. Next, we see one of the lab's rooms, once again featuring the abandoned, creepy look with blood splattered all around. Then, in this scene, we see what looks like an operating room featuring surgical equipment, more blood stains, and even what appears to be a Huggy Wuggy or Kissy Missy hand right here. The next shot shows some kind of reddish pinkish bubbling substance as the silhouette of none other than the prototype appears walking in the hallway outside of the room, looking very similar to his appearance back in chapter 4. Then quickly we see the final shot of the trailer, showing none other than a Poppy Playtime cardboard cutout buried in flames and more of the red substance as it falls into ashes and the trailer glitches out, marking its end. Now, there are a lot of things to break down, but diving into each individual shot, the first one that we see here at the start doesn't immediately hide too many interesting things. We can see that there is some kind of art on the side featuring Catbee, Yarnaby, Catnap, and Candy Cat, while the only other notable thing I can find here appears all the way at the end of the hallway, as there's some kind of vehicle with eyes on it that I can only assume is probably just one of Playtime Co.'s own themed medical beds that they would have used to transfer their patients, or should I say victims, that were being operated on around the labs. The next room also doesn't really feature anything of note specifically, although I will say I do love the look of the environments seen here. They're really nice and most importantly creepy. But our first shot with some big potential implications is here, where we actually see one of the operating tables that was likely used to create the experiments, especially since we see scratches likely from a resisting victim all throughout the floor, and most interestingly, we also see what looks like the hand of a Huggy Wuggy. Now, what this obviously seems to be hinting at here is that this could have been the operating room where Huggy Wuggy, after his fall from chapter 1, was repaired. It would explain all of the blood everywhere and the leftover Huggy hand that is notably missing from the withered Huggy model seen in his return. So maybe this was the room where Huggy was operated on, or maybe even Kissy Missy, who also was injured in chapter 4 and was mysteriously repaired. It even looks like there could be a second Huggy hand or blanket or something left over on the table here as well, but to be honest, I'm not sure. However, moving on to the next shot here, we see the prototype roaming about the labs like expected, but the main focal point here is obviously meant to be this weird red goo stuff on the floor that also appears in the next shot surrounding Poppy. Now, to me, I can't think of this weird stuff being anything other than the infamous Poppy Gel. To briefly review, the Poppy Gel, if you didn't know, is something that was hinted at in chapter 2, when in a document we learned that Playtime Co. tried to revive rats using some weird gel-like substance made from poppy flowers. That didn't end up working in the end, but they hypothesized that if they tried using it on bigger test subjects, it could achieve better results, obviously foreshadowing the use of it on the bigger body experiments. A super important document that they've called back to in past trailers, and even in chapter 4's ending, when we saw that the scientists were farming hundreds of poppy flowers right outside of the labs, likely to create whatever this weird gel was that had had the potential to revive things. And now it looks like we are finally seeing it right here in the flesh. I mean, it's red, it's surrounding the Poppy cardboard cutout, likely used as symbolism since she is related to poppy flowers. She is even on fire while surrounded in it, which could call back to chapter 3 when we learned that the red sleeping gas, likely also made from poppies, was flammable. And I mean, why else would there be some weird goo around the labs of all places if it wasn't meant for working on the experiments? This, in my opinion, is likely the best explanation for what this goo stuff is. But while those are all of the physical shots in the trailer, of course, this thing hides some secrets. As during the glitch at the ending scene, for just one frame, if we pause it, we are given a wall of hidden text that reads, "A needle pulls a thread, the body writhes on the table." Is this it? Is this life? Footsteps echo off the manor floors. What do I do now? Where do I belong? The eyes glue to the screen. Transformation and rebirth. You think you know what he wants? You don't know a thing. Not yet. So this message is really cryptic and it's hard to get a good read on it with such little context. But from what I've gathered, the top majority of the text seems to be somebody reflecting about the experimentation on the orphans to create the monsters that roamed around the factory, specifically with feelings of remorse and disgust, talking about the bodies they were working on shaking about while operating and having existential thoughts relating to their actions. They describe feelings of lack of purpose and mention the transformation and rebirth of the children. But most importantly, the bottom line of text is seemingly specifically about the prototype and how we supposedly think we know what he wants, but that his true desires are yet to be revealed, which to me either is simply foreshadowing what they've already teased in this chapter's rollout, that the prototype's true purpose with everything he's done to the factory was to try and reunite with Poppy. They even overlaid the old teaser image that showed the prototype holding onto a Poppy head, meant to symbolize him looking for her. Or this could be suggesting there is even more to the prototype and what his motives are than what has been revealed to us. Maybe the last shot showing the Poppy cardboard cutout burning down could be a sign that he doesn't just want to capture her, but actually wants to kill her once and for all for whatever reason. Or maybe there's some other purposes and stuff that we don't know about the prototype. I mean, we don't really know that much about him anyway, so it would make sense that there's a lot about him that we are yet to learn. Things that we will hopefully finally find out in this chapter. But guys, this isn't all, as along with the trailer, the developers also dropped the Steam and Epic Games pages for the chapter that give us a bunch of info about the game. First, reading the description of the chapter, it says, "Face off against the deadly puppet master behind the horrifying events of Playtime Go," confirming this chapter will in fact be focused on the prototype. In the latest terrifying chapter of the Poppy Playtime saga, you are propelled further into the gruesome depths of the factory, with Playtime's security system Huggy Wuggy in hot pursuit. Abandoned by your only allies, your fight for survival gets all the more challenging as you race further into the abyss that is his domain. Here, shadows whisper, and the puppet master who lords over this realm pulls the strings of madness. Can you stand against evil and finally put an end to this nightmare? Every bloody move forward will test your resolve as you uncover secrets years in the making. Features, stomach-churning terrors await you in this new section of the factory as you uncover the dark works hidden in the prototype stomping grounds. In this chilling new layer of the Playtime facility, you will encounter the tortured denizens living in the darkness. They may aid in your quest to defeat the prototype, but can they be trusted? Solve devious puzzles and overcome dangerous environmental obstacles with the power of new grab pack tools and functionality. As you reach the true rotten heart at the center of Playtime, you will discover some of the company's gravest sins. Will you escape this new realm of shadows with your sanity intact, or will you succumb to the horrors within? So wow, chapter 5 sounds like it's going to be everything I've ever wanted. What seems like confirmation of new characters that they just call denizens, a focus on the prototype, uncovering of new dark lore, new grab pack hands, it's all gonna be here. And furthermore, on the page, they list that this game will be available next year in 2026. So that's pretty exciting, even though it's kind of what we expected. But even that isn't all, as we were also given a bunch of new screenshots, with the first one here showing some kind of storage area where things are moved in and out. We can also see the one art with all of the characters we saw earlier in the trailer up here, so that's pretty cool. The second screenshot here honestly doesn't show that much. We see some kind of wreckage and a room with a red hue at the bottom, maybe from the Poppy Gel scene in the trailer, but otherwise that's it. In the third, we see what looks to maybe be the entrance to the labs with the Playtime Co logo up here, which again doesn't tell us much in particular, but is still super interesting to see. In the fourth screenshot, we see another wreck of some kind that again is left super ambiguous. I can't really tell what's meant to be going on here, other than that it's some room for chapter 5 that's been destroyed. But things start to get a bit more interesting with the fifth screenshot, where this time we see what appears to be a hallway behind some kind of yard facade, presumably for all the orphans of Playtime Co to hang out in, along with a vent on the right that we will likely get to enter in game. Now, why they needed to have more facades here isn't exactly clear yet, but I do like it. It's very reminiscent of chapter 3 with play care, and that's very much a good thing. This area looks the most interesting to me so far, but trust me, I saved the best screenshot for last, because we got our very first gameplay screenshot here, showing the player in the hallways of the labs being chased down by none other than Huggy Wuggy, confirming of course that he will be returning in this chapter. And furthermore, maybe I'm looking too deep into it, but judge from his animation looking similar to his walking animation from chapter 1, and not looking as specifically posed and scripted like most scenes in the game, I wonder if this actually isn't a scripted chase scene like we're used to getting, and instead Huggy will be an active security guard who tries to find us and follow us around in the game. I mean, they kind of alluded to that in the game's description, and it sounds like a no-brainer to give Poppy Playtime a true roaming enemy. So speaking overall, all of this stuff is absolutely insane, and a couple interesting things that I wanted to point out is that I did find it telling that they haven't mentioned anywhere yet that this is the final chapter, which you think they would have done by now, possibly implying there could be even more. And while they hinted at there being new characters, they never did as much as even tease any of them in the trailers or screenshots or anything, which makes me curious as to why. They are clearly being much more closed off with the characters this time. But also, to give the developers credit, this teaser trailer and the screenshots look so much better than what we had when chapter 4 first got these things. This all looks a lot more finished, plus we already have a photo of the gameplay. Mind you, we didn't have that until like a week before chapter 4 released, so if that chapter's lack of polish leading up to its release was indicative of its shoddy quality, chapter 5 seems to be doing the complete opposite. We're still far from its release, and things clearly aren't ready to be released or anything, but I cannot wait to see what else is in store for us in the coming months, because if you ask me, this is a great sign.